Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. And welcome to another exciting episode of the Just Seen podcast. And today, as you've seen from the title, we're going to be talking about death. But I don't want you to feel like I'm going to come off on some morbid shit. Like it's going to be all gloomy and dark and all of this other shit. Like, nah, I ain't going to be talking about death from the conventional perspective that we speak about death. It's such a negative, dark light. And as you see, it's from the subtitle, we have, the completion of living. So death, the completion of living. And I felt like it kind of aligns, but I felt like this is a decent episode to discuss. At the time of this recording, Venus just went into retrograde. That ain't got shit to do with shit, but in a way it does help because there's a lot of things that tie into that. Retrogrades do play a part in death. Not in that regard, but in this retrograde, it allowed me to see certain things. Well, the beginning of this retrograde and the preparation for it allowed me to see some things, and I started to pay attention to retrogrades. And something that I've observed when it comes to retrogrades is that people, one, they assume the worst of them, but retrogrades happen for people, especially Mercury retrograde. They're like, why does the X always come back? And it's like, cause shit don't be complete. Shit it's not finished. Shit isn't ended. Right? And we have an issue with ending things. You know what I'm saying? We keep doors open for the hypothetical. And in addition to that, if she's listening, I hope she doesn't feel disrespected because I'm not trying to disrespect her in this regard. But a woman of my past, she came into she ain't really come into the picture, but like we spoke a while back. I think sometime in like June or whatever the case may be. Exchange numbers or whatever case. Hey, it's been a long time, blah, 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 blah. And I knew that in that moment, that's what it was. I knew it was retrograde shit, especially the retrograde it is, Venus in retrograde, right? But as, we were talking or whatever, she was like, I bet I'm gonna hit you up tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right, cool. I didn't hold anything to it, but it was like when tomorrow came, there was never a call, but it was like, it just went on. Time just went on. And as time is going on, like we still haven't spoken since. And nothing in me is feeling the type of way, or even like I have to tell myself sometimes, it's like, damn, she ain't hit you up. And it's not even a thing like I was waiting or anything like that, but it was just like, wow, that's done. You know what I'm saying? Like, when there's something that is, is expired, it's done. You know what I'm saying? And I realized that when and our situation was a little bit different because of timing from when we first started vibing and shit, and then came back around just to say, hey, what's up? But it's like, yeah, that version of me is dead. That version of you is dead. And I'm not saying she hit me up to rekindle anything. Let me first say that first. I'm just speaking solely in the context of retrogrades and how in that conversation we had, it was like old friends who hadn't seen each other in a long time. And at least that's how it felt for me. And then the next day, we were just like, oh, well, we just ain't see each other in a long time. It don't matter because we had not been seeing each other. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how she took it. I don't know because I didn't like reach out. You know what I'm saying? I was like, because my thing was, I had not been talking to you, and which ties into this episode. I had not been talking to you because what we had was dead. It died. And oftentimes we look at death as the wrong way. And then sometimes we don't, but I'm going to talk about that too. But a lot of times we look at death in the wrong way and we don't see it for what it is. Death is the completion of living, right? And understand, we know the ultimate death is the completion of you living your life. But death as a whole is when something is completed, when your living experience with something is complete, because there comes a point where there's no more life in what you're doing. We're going to talk about that. We might talk about that first, but there comes a point when there's no more life in what you're doing. But you have to separate yourself from it and detach from it. And that's where the problem comes in, because we don't have a healthy relationship with death. We have a fear of death. And when you have a fear of death, that means you have a lack of understanding. And if you fear death, you fear everything. You know why? To fear death means that you fear the completion of living. So if you're fearing death, that means you don't even have a zeal for life because you know death will come. And a lot of times this is why we fall into the safety routes and fall into the routines, because we don't know when death will come, so we choose never to live. Because it takes life to bring death. The more life you live, the more living you're doing, the closer you're getting to death, because the closer you're getting to completing what it is that you're living. You feel me? But before we dive heavy into that, be sure to follow me on Instagram _just_seen_. Be sure to check out my website at iamjustseen.com to get all things that are just seen. To all those who uh tip sponsor the podcast, you are greatly appreciated. To all those who would like to tip, donate, and sponsor the podcast, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of the podcast. Not this episode, but the podcast itself. And as always, Cash App and PayPal are just fine. And you know the vibes, that's that for this and that's this for that. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into death, the completion of living. And don't forget to visit iamjustseen.com. There, you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the So For Real series to your library? Visit iamjustseen.com. You want to learn how to master the markets for serious trading and investing? Visit iamjustseen.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit iamjustseen.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit iamjustseen.com. You ever want to just chat with Seen about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit iamjustseen.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at iamjustseen.com. So take a quick peek into my world to see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it, and you will never see it unless you visit iamjustseen.com. All right. Welcome back. And without further ado, we're going to dive heavy into it. So we're going to begin by understanding like death is not the end. And I think we need to start there. And I think that's what makes death so bad, is that people think death is the end. It is when a piece of life stops. It is when a living experience ends. And if we look at death in that regard, it changes in a way, right? Me personally, I can't tell you to look at death a certain way because there's levels to how the mind perceives it, right? Death is one thing that we have to take to all four levels of a mind, but it's one of the things that is hard to take to the four levels of the mind, because the experiencing of death is hard to actually experience, right? Because nobody wants to intentionally try to kill themselves or anything like that, but the fact that we believe that that's the only way to die is what the big problem is, right? Every action, every decision we make leads us to our death. I had an episode about this where I mentioned this, but every action, whether we're willing to admit it or not, we could be oblivious about it as we want. Every action, every decision, everything we make, every choice we decide to do is putting us one step closer to our death. Every day we wake up, we are now one step closer to our death. Embrace it, deal with it. This is life. The problem is, the moment we come to terms with it, we don't know how to come to terms with it, right? When we first register that, like, we start to be able to be old enough to register that death is real and it's not just somebody went bye-bye for a long time that we don't see them anymore, we're about anywhere between 4 to 6 years old. That's when we realize we can start to create the reality that death means we separate ourselves from something, or death means that there's the end of something. But when it happens, everybody's crying, everybody's sad, because everybody's selfish. You feel me? Everybody is selfish in multiple regards. A lot of people aren't sad or down that the person died. Yeah, they are for the separation for what it is, but more so the earth-shattering reality hits you differently because it's close. It could happen to me. Something that I've always heard when I was young is that, we always talk about proximity to death. Damn, it could have been me. It could have been me. Soon as somebody dies, we always, it could have been me. Your days ain't promised. We go back into this cyclic loop of being afraid of death again and again and again. Like, nigga, you know it's gonna happen. Why the fuck are you not? It's almost like you know you're gonna have to pay for your rent or whatever the case may be, right? You got 30 days to do it, right? Of course, you got your job or whatever the case may be, but you got 30 days to pay your rent or your mortgage, whatever it is. But you got 30 days to pay that motherfucker. I mean, it's 30 days to accumulate however the fuck you're gonna. And if you're not willing to put in that effort to do it, what's gonna happen? You're afraid. Oh, you know what's gonna happen. You know what's gonna happen. So all of these 30 days, you're gonna do something to put you in position. So when this rent is due, you got it, right? Why don't we do that with death? Like, when we get our first example or first explanation of death, we don't look at it like, damn, we look at it like, damn, this could happen to me. Or it's like, damn, it makes us afraid because people die over anything. Like, we look at we try to make ourselves, and this is what I'm saying, it's selfish, because we try to make ourselves so universal that we think when somebody close to us dies or when somebody dies a certain way, we internalize their mortality. Like, yo, that could have been me. What could have happened to me? But you didn't die like that, okay? That's not the way your life was designed for you to go. You didn't live a life to die like that. And I know a lot of people are like, like, nobody dies. Yes. You die the way you live. It ain't no ifs, ands, and maybes about it. You live by the gun, you die by the bullet, whatever. But you die by the way that you live. And that's what's crazy. Because when a lot of people, when they see people die, they can't fathom a lot of things. Like, oh, you died of a heart attack. You died the way you live. So are you saying that person lived as a heart attack? No, but I'm saying that person lived a life that catalyzed the death to be through a heart attack. When we realize that and we can start looking at it like that, and it's not just some mystery thing, like now when they're telling you shit like, oh, this is hereditary. No, it's not. No, it's not. The pattern of living is hereditary, not the actual disease. Because if it was, like, there's like, how come only negative shit is hereditary? You ever notice that shit? The positive shit we don't really discuss as heredity, because we internalize that more as our own shit. But it's the negative shit that we got that from somebody. No, it's a pattern. It's a rhythm. It's a cycle that is supposed to happen. And you are part of it. The problem is because we don't understand the conceptualizations of death, we don't know how to approach it when we see death. You feel me? When somebody dies, we say, oh, the good die young. Oh, Lord, keep them. Or they're saying, like, one of the reasons why we have especially as black people, I don't give a fuck what you follow, but especially black people, because our spirituality is so deeply interwoven within our inner essence that we have simultaneously, I ain't gonna say simultaneously because it ain't nothing simultaneous about the situation. We had the greatest fear of death. Like, a lot of people don't understand that. And the reason why we have such a great fear of death, because we never had a fear of death. That's what they had to break out of us. This is why masculinity is gone. And this is why only toxic femininity is alive and well right now. Because when we look at what it was to break a buck, when we look at it was to break the mind or whatever the case may be, it was deeper than anything any of us could imagine, because we don't know the true history of what it was. We all we can speculate is, oh, they hated us. You break the mind because no. What you don't remember and recall is, although you break the mind and you keep the body, the breaking of the mind separates you from the soul. Why? Because the mind is the bridge between the soul and the body, the action and the will. You feel what I'm saying? Well, the will and the action, respectively. I said them out of order. We never had a conceptualization of death. We could not fathom death. It was, oh, we'll be back later. I'll be back. Reincarnation was a large conceptualization for us, but we didn't look at it as reincarnation. We didn't actually have to put a title to calling it reincarnation, because we just didn't die. Reincarnation implies that you accept that I have died and now I have to be born again. We did not have a conceptualization for death. This is what I need y'all to understand. When you do not have a conceptualization for death, this is where it gets really deep. This is also why we two things that we never really had. We never had a conceptualization of death, and we never had a conceptualization of evil. Those two things go hand in hand. It's almost a one-to-one. The moment you internalize death, you associate it with evil. Off rip, right? So when it came time to break us, right? When you break the mind, build the body, it's like, nigga, what about the spirit? Because all of these things form a synergy. Oh, the willpower is going to be shot. We're going to kill the will, right? The moment you can make a people, not a person, a people, a culture, the moment you can make a people fear something they never had a conceptualization of fear for, you control them forever. And then make them justify the shit, right? Here's where I'm going with this. We never talk about the fact that if we were talking about slavery or whatever, like we talk about the Killmonger situation when he said, "Bury me in the ocean with my ancestors who knew that drowning was, or knew that death was better than bondage." Death never crossed their mind. There, this is what we don't. This is what we don't pay attention to sometimes. They didn't think about death. The only thing on their mind was bondage, and I'm not in it. There was no conceptualization of death. And when they realized that this is the type of people that they're dealing with, this is why religion had to be introduced. The reason when I realized that, how did we collectively go from having people like Shaka Zulu say, where I'm from, we eat fire, you know, when they told him about hell, like what was your, because again, that masculine essence had to come in. Masculinity is going to analyze and deconstruct certain shit to where certain shit is gone. So now when I'm introducing, oh, when you die, you're going to go to hell. When you die, you're going to go through this. And for a man to say, oh, where I'm from, we eat fire. So you feel me? He telling you, I don't process what you process, and I don't process the way you process. So death again, was like, imagine this. You're threatening me with the worst possible punishment of death. Oh, you'll burn in hell. And I'm telling you what I think about death. Okay, so even if I do go to hell, where I'm from, we eat fire. So what you think I'm gonna do when I go to hell? If I go to hell, I'm gonna consume hell. You feel what I'm saying? It's bigger than, a lot of times shit is bigger than what we really care to give it credence. And sometimes there's bigger things in shit, whether we can see the bigger piece of it or not, right? So again, you come from a people who never had a conceptualization of death. And I get it. Well, seeing what did they do when people died and shit like that? Oh yeah, they buried their dead. But you got to understand our cultures and our history. When somebody died, you mourned. And this is, this is how I understood that we had a different conceptual, because we had a different conceptualization of death. We knew how to prepare for it and what to do when death came. You see what I'm saying? When somebody's physical life ended, yeah, we celebrated the fact that we celebrated their life. We didn't mourn the death. We celebrate. Let me say it differently. In mourning the death, we celebrated the life. Now, in mourning the death, we mourn the death. You see what I'm saying? Oh Lord Jesus, take me now. Why do you cry at funerals? I never understood. Like, I used to think something was wrong with me. I used to think I was like a broken person because I never cried at funerals. I cried at one funeral, and the only funeral that I cried at was my cousin's when I was 5 years old. And I only cried because everybody broke down and started crying at one time, and it freaked me out. I'm like, what the fuck are y'all crying for? Like, we in church, they singing and this, and then it's like the mood gets real somber. Everybody gets sad and they crying. Everybody, and I get it. You feel me? And I started crying because I'm seeing everybody else crying. But as I got older, I never cried at funerals. At first, I was like, well, maybe I didn't know that person that well. But then the funeral started getting closer and closer. The people started getting closer and closer to me. I still didn't cry. It wasn't like you feel me? And it's always been because I had a healthy connection with death. And one of the craziest paradoxes in the world is the more healthy your relationship is with death, the crazier you look in the world. Periodically, you'll hear me say some shit that I'm like, I don't know any morbid shit. The reason why I say that is because I understand how I understand death. And I understand that it's not the same way everybody else does. So it can come off as I don't give a fuck about certain shit. I understand death. There's a fine line between not giving a fuck and understanding death. And I think people don't realize that there's a difference between that. And people, we enjoy that reality, to have that confidence and that freedom to be able to be in that space, but we don't know how to actually see the core of what that is. We can only see the details of how that manifests itself. So when we see somebody who don't give a fuck, you know what I'm saying? We enjoy that, and we enjoy that energy. Sometimes we live vicariously through people like that. It's like, yo, that motherfucker don't give a fuck. But we don't realize that that person has no conception, that has no fear of death, right? But the person, it's not that they don't have a fear of death. The person who is reckless like that, who doesn't give a fuck, has no conceptualization of death. Understanding death and having no conceptualization of death are totally different things. And that's what manifests as I don't give a fuck versus I'm comfortable with death. You feel what I'm saying? Motherfuckers who don't give a fuck, you feel me? They're reckless. They do stupid shit. And they justify however they're gonna justify it. But motherfuckers who have a healthy relationship with death, it's like, you feel me? They call it dark humor when you laugh. So, nah, I just got a healthy relationship with shit and I can get through tragedy faster. Only thing about humor is when you find, there's something funny in some shit, right? But the thing about humor is that humor is an extension of comedy in a sense. But comedy is just tragedy over time. The fact that I can be funny fast, I know we joke and we say, oh, black people don't take nothing seriously. It's not that. It's our relationship with death. Because now we go to that next level. You have those who have the relationship with death, those who don't, and then those who have a healthy relationship with death, or whatever the case may be, right? When you have that unhealthy relationship with death, well, or when you don't even give a fuck, when you don't even have a relationship with death, you don't give a fuck. But when you have that unhealthy relationship with death, you become fearful, right? Tying this back to how we got, enslaved, how we got indoctrinated, whatever the case may be. There's a one-to-one connection between the development and the instillment of the death, of our conceptualization of death and our unhealthy relationship with it, and the religion we follow. I always wondered, why did they give us the religion? And I thought it was, to break the mind so they don't think, or whatever the case may be. Nah, they let them read because you can think. It wasn't that. I give you the religion because it builds your lexicon, right? Your lexicon. If the lexicon that you have, no matter where you are, if the highest conceptualization of your mind creates the lexicon for you that does not have a healthy relationship with death, I can control you forever. If I can make you fear death, I can keep death all around you. Make you feel like you're on a minefield. And I can control you. I can make you do whatever I want you to do. I can make you, quote unquote, play it safe. When you don't have a healthy relationship, the reason why I'm saying play it safe, because when you don't have a healthy relationship with death, you're not a risk taker. And you'll never be a risk taker. You feel me? Because you justify it with, I know religious people who, when they need to hype themselves, when they need to talk themselves out of failing or quitting or giving up on something or not being in the space or being afraid to seize an opportunity or create opportunity for themselves, they'll say, it's better to be a live chicken than a dead lion. I've heard that so much from religious people. It's better to be a live chicken than a dead lion. Think about how we have associated our relationship with death to where the conceptualization says it is better to be alive as a coward than to die with courage. Think about that. We know we call somebody a chicken because they're a coward, they a punk, they soft, they weak, or whatever. You feel me? And we know what we call lions, why we call lions lions. But for it to be a affirmation, this is a colloquialism. This is something that we speak on a regular basis. People say this is better to be a live chicken than a dead lion. It is better to be a living coward than die with courage. And that's because we have no conceptualization of death. You cannot have a conceptualization, a healthy relationship with death, let alone a conceptualization. You cannot have a healthy relationship with death if you believe that it is better to be a live chicken than a dead lion. You know why? Because chickens die a lot more than lions do. You see what I'm saying? So it expands your mind a little bit more when you start to understand that, and you create a healthy relationship with it. Because you come to terms with, again, the reality that death is the completion of living, right? So now, when I look at a lot of the religious doctrines that we follow, for one, they were given to us during enslavements. Like, had we have never been enslaved, none of us, I feel personally, none of us would be Christians and none of us would be Muslims. You know why I know that? Because I talk to y'all for real. Because I actually understand the religion and shit. When I actually talk to y'all for real, the truth come out. You don't get it. You don't get it. And you don't know what it is that you're trying to defend. And the layers are so deep, and we think that, and when somebody questions our reality, it's because when you affect somebody's belief system, you're now affecting the buffer between you're now affecting the buffer they have between their understanding of death and them. As long as I have a religion, I don't have to think about it because I can live a certain way. I can follow a certain thing that says, okay, I'm secured after death. I don't have to prepare for it. Death is something you prepare for. You feel me? Because this is a part of life. It's the completion of living. And because when we see it on a grand scale, we can't even look at it on a monumental. Like, you ever notice whenever I teach y'all something, whenever I'm giving y'all some game or something, I'm always giving extreme. Because it's easier to teach from extremes than it is to teach from small details. No, fuck that. Because I don't have the time to I'm gonna give you this extreme, that extreme, and let you see the middle. Antithesis. I'm gonna teach you how to do, like, it's faster that way. It's faster to learn that way. But when my conceptualization of death is only an option of heaven and hell, and it's a coin flip and I don't know either one, imagine that shit. Imagine a motherfucker that has never left this earth convincing you that something outside of this earth is waiting for you when you die. A motherfucker currently living telling you what's gonna happen when you die, you believe him. That's got to be some kind of mental illness. It's got to be some mental illness. Or the person that is your enemy, that hates you, that needs you to be subservient, gives you something that and tells you that it's to your liberation. And you accept it and you internalize it as, this is going to free me. Despite seeing generation after generation after generation never be free. Creates that arrogance about self that, oh, that's because it's special for me. One of the most retarded things ever. And if you follow this doctrine and you hold on to this, you gotta realize that mentally you retarded yourself. I'm saying this because it happened to me. You feel me? And this is a lot of what I had to let go of. You know what I mean? I got so caught up in the holier than thou shit, thinking that, like, you can't see the logic. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna be in the number. Nigga, it's a population of only 144,000. Nigga, literally only 12,000 motherfuckers from every tribe is going to be in heaven. It's 12 tribes. 12 times 12 is 144,000, right? That's what they're talking about. Whoever wrote that shit could not have thought that big. How the fuck we have 8 billion people in the world right now? Heaven only has a population for 144,000. And we've been actively having civilization for about 600,000 years. Either heaven full or niggas ain't going. You see what I'm saying? It only has room for 144,000 people. So now, when heaven only has room for 144,000 people, whether we collectively acknowledge it or not, we know in some way, shape, or form that there's only a small amount of people. You know how? Because we always say, I'm going to be in the number. I'm going to live right. I'm going to do this. It's the arrogance, because I now taint your relationship with death. I now make you believe that your relationship with death is required for you. And your relationship with death is contingent upon how well you associate with your religion. What everybody says, make sure you right with God before you go, because you never know when that time is coming. You never know. What does it mean to be right with God? Allah, Jehovah, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Allah, all of them. What does it mean to be right with them? See, the thing is, a lot of people can't answer that question because the fear of The idea of, oh, being right with him just means doing whatever doesn't send me to hell. Not fulfilling your purpose. See, fulfilling your purpose is really how you get right with God. I be telling people like, hey, for one, oh, I'm not an atheist. I'm an omniist. I know them all. I understand. I got respect for all of them. The reason why, because I got respect for all of them, I can talk shit about them the way that I do. I don't have the same reverence that everybody else has because of the respect that I have for the others. When you have that only reverence for your religion, like I follow this person on social media, well, travel with him, and complete. Hold on, let me say this. A lot of y'all niggas went back to sleep. A lot of y'all went back to sleep. Um, I I know a lot can happen in 5 years, but see, this is what I be saying. Y'all got so caught up in this woke shit. Y'all got so caught up in this conscious community shit that you wasn't learning anything. You just wanted to find a sense of belonging. And it fucked up. It was fucked up because those of us who actually live this, and these are those of us who are actually these type of people. You know what I'm saying? It gave us a community, but it gave us a false community. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I'm seeing a lot of y'all, like, I remember y'all. Like, y'all still on my page, bro. Like, y'all are still here. And y'all act like, I ain't know. Like, my thing is like, y'all can't unlearn what you learned. I know you. I know what you saw. I know what you used to post. You can delete everything. You cannot unsee what you saw. But when the possibility of death is on the table, all of that shit goes out the window when you have an unhealthy relationship with death. What I've learned is during the pandemic, during COVID, all of them people who were confident in themselves, all of those people who we thought were, because of status and everything like that, death escapes nobody. And when it's on the forefront, you can see who's who and what's what. Motherfuckers lost their shit. Why? Because nobody had a healthy relationship with death, because they don't give us a healthy relationship with death, because it's not profitable. I cannot control your mental health in any way, shape, or form if I do not control how you process death, how you have a relationship with death. Well, when I tell people that the US dollar is backed by the health of the people, specifically the mental health, they look at me like I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not tripping. Y'all just can't see what I see. Because these consumers, you know how many people I impulse buy? What the fuck does it mean to impulse buy? Why are you impulse buying? Same motherfuckers. I can't take it with me. When you realize that you can't take your money with you, when you realize all of that shit like that, and your first reaction just to get rid of it, something or somebody has fucked up your relationship with death to where you don't even think to prepare for it properly. You think just to squander and live your life however you're going to live it with nothing. Shit trash. Shit trash. And it's all because we don't have a healthy relationship with death. And I know it's scene. When are you going to get to talking about a relationship? I am. Let me flow. The fuck, I got to set the scene because we got to get through the point of the death side. Because I haven't said anything negative, anything dark, or anything like that, but this has a somber mood to it. You know why? Because death is somber. Niggas ain't processing death. I get it. See, the problem is our inability to have that healthy relationship with death makes us. This is why we have invigoration and so much zeal with starting things but never ending them. Motherfuckers be trying to say, oh, it's anxiety. Oh, it's because you were Aries, or, your sign is, I'm saying Aries because I'm Aries, but, oh, it's your sign why you like that, or you're like this because of that, and you can't complete a project because of this. You can't commit to something because of this. No, it's because of death. It's because of death. Why can't men commit? It's fear of death. We're telling you we have a fear of death. We're telling you we have a fear of the death of this relationship. Y'all don't listen. Y'all don't listen. Motherfuckers don't hear it. Motherfuckers don't hear it because that's not what we're saying. We're saying, oh, no, you got to go half with me, shorty, like, oh, because I fear the death of this relationship. Because it's not guaranteed. You know why? Because I'm in a competition for something you don't have to compete for. You dig what I'm saying? Like, I'm in a competition that you don't have to compete for. So the end result of that competition isn't the same for you. Every woman can end with the ring. Every woman can end up married, but not every man can. And I know, and it's like, no, that's not. Yes, that is true. That is true. If a motherfucker know where they getting the milk from, they'll buy the cow if that's the only milk they can get. They will buy that cow. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. But we ain't cows. I'm not calling women heifers and cows and shit. I'm not speaking in that regard, but I'm saying in the bigger picture, for men, that's where we're expressing. And it's like, fuck your feelings, nigga. Fuck that. No, I'm telling you, I have a fear of death of this, because when you don't have a healthy relationship with death, you feel me? The separation, like, men, because we're in the competitive world. And if you're not in that upper echelon, like literally, we're in a space where all the women want 1% of men. I know some of y'all listening and saying, nah, not me, saying, hey, I'm speaking on the collective. Talk to your girls. Talk to your girls. You feel what I'm saying? The collective wants the 1% of men. 1% of men in America, or 1% of the men in the world. Do you know what the fuck 1% is? Like, I'm not even trying to be funny, but see, that comes with the arrogance that the women have, or whatever the case may be. But when all of the women want, imagine this, right? You want the 1% of man. Like, all of the women want 1%. That's just imagine that out of 100 niggas, every woman only wants one. That's crazy, right? But that's what they're telling you is what it is. So now that's the pressure that we have on us as men, right? That's the pressure we have on us as men, but that's tied to our unhealthy relationship with death. You see what I'm saying? And we don't even know that that's really what it is. So we wonder, like, yo, nah, fuck that. And it always ends the same way. I gotta go have, because that bitch ain't leaving me with nothing. When this relationship is dead, I will not be with nothing. That's all we're saying. But because we can't articulate it like that, because of the layers in which, like, this is why masculinity is so important, why I speak on analysis and deconstruction. You got to filter out all of the details and get to the principle. The problem is so many systems are in place that we have to get through so many details. We don't know where the principles are. Some of the details can look like principles because it's so layered. You see what I'm saying? For example, saying men are cowards or men ain't soft, where the real men at for 50. No, nigga, we watched the men die. We watched death come to the very men that y'all are saying where they're at. Like, the very men that saying, where the real men at, who do this, who do this, who do this. We watched them die by giving 100%. We watched death come to them. We watched the completion of their living by them giving 100%. And I'm not just talking about on a physical death. Happy life, happy white men lose. We lose our hair. Like, I don't think people are like, everything that the woman got with us for, we don't have anymore. We die on the inside and we start to lose. And it's like, when I'm gone, you still, like, not only does in the relationship, I wasn't growing, I wasn't developing, because I'm maintaining this household. I have to take care of kids and another adult. Okay. And this adult can leave me and take my kids. I don't think people understand the death that comes with that, because it's the aftermath of what comes with death. Like, you have to not only prepare for death, but you have to be able to prepare to live with death. That's not what we're being taught to do, because we're being taught to avoid death by any means, but death comes at all times. This is why we start shit, but we can't finish it. Because to finish it, there's a death in there. Death is completion. I'm done putting my life into this experience, circumstance. Death means that I am finished. A lot of us don't want to finish it. We keep things unfinished for a very reason, because once it's finished, we have to admit that we have to move forward. I'm going to use myself as an example, because I'm the closest example to me that I know about this, that really, really experienced it. So for real series. So for real series could have been done about a year or two earlier. I purposely did not finish So for real 3 because I was afraid of the death that would come once I completed the living experience. So for real for me was deeper than just 3 books. That's what a lot of motherfuckers didn't understand. I had like, I'm telling you, like I had motherfuckers act like, nigga, where the fuck So Frail 3 at? Hurry, I ain't wrote it yet. I ain't wrote it yet. It was all in my head. And I knew it was only gonna take me about a month and a half to finish writing it. But because of all of those things, I said, I don't want to write it. Because the death was gonna come. Because like I said, So Frail marks something bigger. It marks my start of entrepreneurship. It marks the start of the transition of my inner healing. It marks the transition of my personal development and growth. It marks the start of everything that is going to create. So Frail starts everything that creates my bloodline. I didn't want to be done with So Frail because it was giving me life. I had purpose. I was like, damn. So Frail started it. Although I did create Hitting It Raw, although I did create my course and all of that shit, So Frail still started all of the shit that made me an entrepreneur, the life of an entrepreneur. So in finishing So Frail 3, it was like, damn, bro, I'm really done. I'm really done. And I was afraid of the completion of the living that I was doing in regards to that, in regards to being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is not an end all be all, because the next transition, of course, was, the advertising and marketing and all of that other shit. But then I transitioned into something different. Now I'm getting into music again. You feel me? I have the time to get into music. And I'm going to say this real quick. This is like something different. When I get into music this time, it has a different perspective behind it. You know what I'm saying? It's not, I don't have that urgency of I got to do this, I got to get signed or anything like that, because it's like I had to come to terms with that. Let me finish the So Frail shit. So Frail, when I finally put the pen down and I finished So Frail 3, and I was like, and I put that peace, love, knowledge, and freedom at the end of it, it was like, I'm done. There's an emptiness that comes after death. But remove the word death, and there is an emptiness. And just use the definition, when you complete living. And that emptiness is designed for you to sit and be still, do nothing with. I'm whispering and I'm getting dramatic a little bit because we're in this constant society of motion. When you finish something, you keep going. You finish something, you keep going. You finish something, you keep going. You don't stop to admire the work you just completed. The reason why you don't stop is because we have an unhealthy relationship with death. We feel that if we stop, we will die. So we keep running and running and running and running and running and running, rather than seeing that stopping is necessary to generate more life. You ever wondered why you're always burnt out, always tired, always exhausted, can't muster up the energy? Because there's so many things, so many open tabs you have in your life, not even in your mind, but in your life, because you will not complete them. You can have something in your life right now that's probably 97% complete, and you won't finish the motherfucker because it's done when you finish. And what next? See, the thing about death, as it says, the completion of living, it's like what life comes after death. Because that's all that we thought. That's all that we knew. We never knew a conceptualization of death before. We only knew the conceptualization of life. Like I said, it's why they gave us religion. But in understanding that, when you don't have that healthy relationship with it, you stay in limbo and things remain open. And it's a lot of, as long as I still got to do this, like that's something that I learned as an entrepreneur. And like I said, tying it in. So after the So Frail, shit, I didn't want to finish it, but I did. And now as an entrepreneur, it was one of the things about entrepreneurship is, staying active. What do you do when you're no longer active anymore? Are you no longer? No, I'm now smarter than I was before. I should not be doing the same shit that I'm doing. But if I'm repeating the same cycles and not growing, it's because I'm afraid of the death that's coming. I've learned and I mastered everything that I was supposed to master, but I don't want to close that chapter. This is why I talk about the big fish in a small pond. Afraid of dying. You're afraid of dying, so you're going to die comfortably. I don't think people understand how that's not necessarily a good term. I do want to die on my own terms. I do want to be comfortable when I die, but I don't want to die comfortably. I don't know. I want to die on some gruesome shit. I mean, not put that in the universe. I don't want to die on no gruesome shit. But what I'm saying is, when this is all, when I'm done, when I've completed, I feel like if you live by, you die by. I feel like I want to die by how I'm living, right? So it's like, in order to do that, you have to realize that the life that you're living is killing you right now. It's leading you, like, so what do you do with that? People see that, embrace that, and say, I'm gonna go deeper into church. I'm not gonna change my lifestyle. I'm not gonna look at anything that I could be doing within myself to make me better. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and then I'm going to associate my relationship with death with the deity. Like, nobody really believes and loves, and y'all might hate me for this. Y'all might look at me side eye crazy. Y'all don't. Nobody really loves their deity. For real, for real. Nobody really gives a fuck about their deity. They talk that shit for church, the mosque, whatever the case may be. Nobody gives a fuck on the inside. What they give a fuck. You care more about death than you actually do the love of your deity. It just happens to be synonymous that you follow a deity to set up a way, set up a good way for you to, you know what it's like. You know what it's like. It's literally just like investing in the S&P 500 versus being able to trade and invest in the markets. Like, you feel what I'm saying? I be seeing when a lot of people's, pages, they be popping, and a lot of people, they shit shut down. Not shut down, but when they talk about stocks and investing and they talk about their losses or whatever. I've had people tell me, why don't you show your losses? I feel like you a frog or whatever. Why don't you show them? I don't have to. I only show you how to win. And I mean this in the most modest way. But I only show you how to win. So when I see people, and this is no shot of disrespecting, I'm just putting in context. They show this other side of their, movements, and they show that they lost. And they're like, why don't you show your losses? I don't. And I mean, I do, but I don't lose often. I don't lose that much. But I'm not in it when it's about to lose. Like, I be seeing the market. I'm like, yo, y'all, it's about to drop. Whatever, bro. I need to buy. All right. Pew. The next day it dropped. How did the markets drop? How did you know? Because I know. But the point is, I got that good with this. It's because I was never afraid of death with it. Like, I never, like, I'm using that because I'm like, in regards to that. Okay, let me use the metaphor of what I was going with that. So the reason why I'm using that is like where people, they don't prepare for the falls. When it's the stock market is gonna fall, how do people still get beat by it? You feel me? Again, like I said, I still get beat by it, but I promise you, I do not get beat by it as much. You know what I'm saying? If I get beat by it, it's on some. All right, I'm gonna say it like this: the way in which I get beat by it is very small. You feel me? My wrist and like my P&L is green. You know what I'm saying? I lose, but if I'm gonna lose, I'm not gonna lose as much as I gain ever, because I set my shit up that way. But that took me to have a level of understanding with something that it's like I got to infuse my living within this, right? I have to prepare for what happens if I die with this, right? And now, I know it's, like I said, it seems morbid, but I'm using death again in the form of completion. What happens when I complete this? See, that's the thing about an accomplishment. It's easy to complete goals. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to complete goals, but it's hard to face death. It's wild, right? Because a goal has a completed end. Now, the thing about a goal is like, once we set a goal, this is why we end up after, what's your goals next? I did what I was supposed to do. But now, an unhealthy relationship with death allows you to do something also. Here's the other side to it. An unhealthy relationship with death will allow you to do something, complete it, and never do it again. You see what I'm saying? You know how people say, I have a goal of getting under this weight once or forever. You feel me? Because they'll go down, work out, get to that point, and then it'll be whatever. They don't know how to keep it once that is complete. Because this is a whole different thing that you have to do now. Like, losing weight and maintaining a weight are two totally different things. But when your goal is to lose weight, that's the completion. So when death comes for that, you've completed it. Now you can go back and try it again later. You feel me? That's one of the things that it's like when you have that unhealthy relationship with death, when it's time to see things through completing, you just do them to get done. Like, there's really no reason behind, I did it. So now I can tell people that I did it, but what was the reason? Like, did you complete anything? Because here's why I'm saying this. If death is the completion of living, right? and we're doing things just to be done and we're not actually completing them, are we really preparing ourselves for death? I never forget it. As much shit as I talk about Black Panther and Wakanda Forever, how they erase and everything like that, there was a powerful sentiment in that motherfucker when his dad told him, if as a father I have not prepared, if I have not prepared you for my death as a father, I have failed. Those words hit me so heavy because I'm like, damn. When I look at past generations, when I look at I'm like, if I leave this world and I have not prepared my kids for that, right? Here's why that hit me so differently, because now you have to realize who you are in the world. That is what is going to be removed from your children's lives. All you keep hearing is get into the markets, but do you trade or do you invest? Should you do stocks, Forex, crypto, or NFTs? My personal answer is not a single one if you don't know how to read a chart. Without knowing how to read a chart, you end up giving all your money to those who do. Do you know what a candle is? Do you know the pocket of activity? Do you know the difference between market direction and market control? If you answer no at least once, you might want to learn how to read a chart first. Learning how to read a chart will let you know if you should trade or invest and if you should do stocks, Forex, crypto, and or NFTs. It will also let you know if this is even for you or not. So visit IamJustSeen.com to learn how to read charts with my Mastering the Market course, ebooks, and webinars today. The world is changing. The question is, will you adapt with it? You feel me? This motherfucker y'all get right now on the podcast, the Mastering the Market, all of this other, like everything at IamJustSeen.com. This month, like, y'all losing it is different than a child losing this. You feel what I'm saying? Y'all met me. Those come from me. And if I have not prepared them for the completion of my life, I failed. Why? Because I brought them into my life. Therefore, it's my obligation to make sure, okay, y'all didn't have to be a part of my life. I asked y'all to be here. I now have to prepare for when death comes to me. I have to make sure that I'm complete. And here's why I'm using that. And I'm using the kids as the extreme, because that's the extreme for the physical death. How many things do we not see to completion because it's not a real death? And the reason why I want to keep using death, because I'm trying to take the morbidity out of it to let you see how practical death really is. And death ain't some shit you need to be running from. Death is all around you every motherfucking day. Every motherfucking day. Every time you decide that you want to avoid something because it's like, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. Everything that you put off tomorrow is because you're afraid of death. Procrastination is a bitch. A lot of motherfuckers are procrastinate, but I still get it done. You do it at the last minute because the deadline is there. The death is here. I have no choice. I cannot run from the death anymore. I have to face it. This just fucked everybody up, myself included. This download is different. Procrastination is your fear of death. But because procrastination, we don't look at it as procrastination stems from a fear of death. But because the fear of death that we have, because we think death is only associated to physical bodies, we don't realize that it's associated to our projects. We don't realize it's associated to our families, our kids. We don't realize how subtle it is to be associated with everything we do. It's subtleties to the shit. But procrastination falls into that shit. Because what happens when you procrastinate? You think of every scenario of why you're not doing something a lot of times. Well, I ain't gonna say it, most people. I'm speaking for myself. When I used to procrastinate, and when I do procrastinate, I procrastinate because I know I'm gonna get done and I'm not gonna have anything to do afterwards. That's why I procrastinate. Most of the people that I talk to, they procrastinate for the same reason. They'll say, oh, I procrastinate because I can get it done in 2 seconds. You giving me a 2-week project, I'll get it done the night before and still get an A? Why the fuck would I do it 2 weeks ago? Because I don't have a healthy relationship with death. I have an unhealthy relationship with death, so much so that I can only deal with it when it comes. And I get it. A lot of people think, if you procrastinate, you have an unhealthy relationship with death and don't even know it. So when I see people who procrastinate, like myself included, I can look down the line and see, what's your relationship with death? Now, my relationship with death is going to be a little bit different, despite the fact that I procrastinate because of the other things that I've seen outside of that. You feel me? So it exhibits in other realities. But most of the time, if the biggest goal okay, for example, if I procrastinate, let's say I'm gonna procrastinate. I have 4 out of 5 ads done for the month, but I procrastinate on one. It's different. It's different. But I still make sure, I do my EWE webinars. I still make sure I send my emails out to the people who have questions on certain shit. I still make sure I do all of the other shit in between times. Sometimes I just won't do none shit. So I had like a 98% complete month or some shit. I don't know. But there's one thing when you're procrastinating on a small piece, as opposed to flipping it the other way. You're procrastinating like on your major. This is what you're supposed to graduate with. And you're procrastinating on that. And that's the only thing you have to focus on. It's different levels of procrastination, which means there's different relationship. I mean, there's different connection to the relationship with death. Yeah, procrastination. Don't beat yourself up. No, I'm never gonna procrastinate anymore. All you gotta do is get your working fear, like get a working understanding of death, and understand that death is just the completion of living. This is one of the reasons why we stay in relationships far longer than we should have. Why we get into relationships we shouldn't be in. Our fucked up relationship with death doesn't even know that we're walking into something that is about to kill us. Because again, people don't realize that death is the completion of living. Death is the completion of living. You don't know that you're walking into a relation that completely stops you from living right then. We extend our tolerance so much that it's scary. You feel what I'm saying? We be knowing relationships supposed to be over, but stick it. That's one of the things that fucks us up as men. I ain't gonna hold you, bro. If men could actually be honest and not be led to feel guilty for whatever the case may be, for leaving a woman or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Women can do it all the time, but men can't do it because we got to stick it out and shit like that. There would be a lot more men divorcing than women would. But I got to give up half of my shit for her. So it's cheaper to keep her. Do you know why that's a phrase? Think about these two phrases. Think about these two phrases and you'll see why, and it'll make sense why men don't want to go through that death of half and half. There's two phrases that are popular that don't have a synonymous one for men. You have happy life, happy wife, and then you have what was the other one I was just about to say? You have happy life, happy wife, and when it comes to me, I'll say it again. But either way, I have happy wife, happy life. Now today, people trying to rhyme, oh, happy house, happy spouse. No, nigga, what about the happy husband? Fucking like nothing rhymes with husband like that. The flow. So you feel me? It's not even something to fit like that. But when you have that mentality, but then it's like I'm building my entire existence off of knowing that I got to protect and provide forever for somebody who isn't even, I can't even guarantee is going to be there because they can their feelings can change if I fall off. You feel me? Their feelings can change for me if I fall off, and there's not a damn thing I can do about the shit. So the relationship that I have with death is different. So now when I'm approaching the relationship as a man, I have to always look at how does this relationship complete itself? We know that it's either going to end with us riding in the wind or me being broke with nothing and having to pay shit. Literally, that is when you realize that is a 50-50 outcome to either ride off in the sunset and be married forever or to lose half my shit. If you really had to bank the remainder of your life on heads or tails, would you? You feel me? Would you? Now, this now goes into when you don't have that healthy relationship with death, you don't have a healthy relationship with life. So that means everything that you now experience within your life is now filtered through the lens of your unhealthy relationship with death. So when people say, why can't I see red flags? Because you got an unhealthy relationship with death. You don't even know you're being killed right now. Which is now why people can like when people finally realize, oh, this shit killing you. Oh, well, we gonna die anyway. Do you want to die now, nigga? The fuck? Like, what you mean? Like, when I hear people say shit, like when I hear people say those words, well, we gonna die anyway. I can't fuck with those people on no serious type time. They're dangerous. We gonna die anyway. That means you have a fucked up relationship with that, homie. And if you have a fucked up relationship with that means you ain't living right. I had little cousins ask me one time, Ray, why you don't go to church no more? Why you don't gotta go to church? No, he ain't asked me why I don't go to church no more. He said, why don't you have to go to church? No, he did. He did. He said, why don't you gotta go to church? I said, because I don't have to go to church. And then he said, so why don't you have to go to church? I said, because church is for people who fear hell and fear death. I don't fear either one of those. And went on a tangent. I guess he went back and told the elders, no, I don't feel like. And I guess they went and said whatever they wanted to say, but they were like, oh, I don't fear death. God didn't give me the spirit of fear. But as soon as death happens, everybody cries, everybody breaks down. And it's not because the person is gone, because they realize, oh, I'm getting closer and closer to dying. That's one of the saddest realities I ever realized, because it's like, if that person really mattered, you continually remember that person when they gone. It ain't no, you know what I'm saying? Like after a year and a half now, you know what I'm saying? No, you remember the morbidity and you remember how close they are to you and how close that makes you to death. It hit different when somebody that you know or relatively know, their family or their member dies or whatever. It's, yo, sending prayers or whatever. You don't pray for that motherfucker. When Kendrick Lamar said that shit, he was like, thoughts and prayers way better off timelines. And it's real. But people be like, oh, I'm praying for you. Nigga, you gonna type that shit in, I'm praying for you and yours, and then scroll, and the next thing you know, you laughing again. You ain't pray. You ain't remember shit. You ain't gonna do shit. You just talked about doing the shit that you ain't gonna fucking do. Because in addition to having our fucked up relationship with death, is like when we experience, we don't know how to associate, we don't know how to deal with endings with people, any kind of ending. So when somebody, oh, the Lord don't make no mistakes, nigga, stop. When people die, stop telling their loved ones that it was done on purpose. Stop telling their loved ones that a higher deity killed their loved one on purpose. Yes, you're not saying those words, but you're saying those words when you say he makes no mistakes. You feel me? It's the mysterious ways. That fucks with you psychologically, because you, again, do not know how to have a healthy relationship with death, because you can't fathom how this could even happen. It makes no sense. What you mean? Like, what you did this on purpose? Like, this motherfucker wasn't supposed to go this way. They were supposed to go away the way according to the life that they lived. How did they live? You feel me? When they take me out, this motherfucker, whether they be physical people, the source, whatever, when they take me out, this motherfucker, understand that that's it. That's it. You feel me? Ain't nothing for me to fight. Ain't nothing for anybody to fight. Ain't nothing for anybody to worry about. Don't worry. Like, but know that when I leave this motherfucker, I left how I want to I left how I want to leave. And I know a lot of people are thinking that because of the way in which I, articulate myself, and I speak on, just be yourself and be free. And, no. I'm leaving out on my terms because I'm living my terms right now. Making it to 88, 90 years old, that's not ending on my terms to me. That's not ending on my terms to me. Ending on my terms is knowing that I did what the fuck I want, how the fuck I want it at every moment of my life, and I never failed at it. I lost a lot, but I learned, but I never failed at it. So for me, it's like when death comes, and here's something that I learned: the healthier your relationship is with death, the farther death stays. The less like death fucks with you. Like I think I have a healthy relationship with death because I physically experienced it so much, but not so much. It was only, I say two in a possible, because I got hit by a car when I was 17. I almost drowned when I was 12, and then when I got arrested, that really wasn't, well, because it was life. I was facing 25 life. So yeah. I faced it. I faced death 3 times. In the context of, oh, this is the completion of my life. This is supposed to be the completion of my life. You feel what I'm saying? When you are faced with that several times, you get to a point where it's just like, oh, nigga, it is what it is. But in those moments, you have a decision to make. And this is why I realized why they gave us religion, why they did what they did, and they made us fear death so much, because it's like, when you do not have a healthy relationship with death, that means you do not know how to process it. So now when I do certain shit to you and I tie it to death, you have a fear of it, and it sends you into a discombobulation. And now I fuck with you mentally and I control your mind. Emotionally, I control your mind. Like all I have to do is say some shit. All I got to do on social media when I want to get active again is just say shit people don't understand. Because it's always one nigga that's gonna come on the motherfucker like they do understand and try to call me stupid. Now I'm gonna make them look stupid in the comments, and it is what it is. I tried to avoid that shit because that shit keep getting me shadow banned. You feel me? Motherfuckers want this scene. They want this motherfucker to be the, you know what I mean? I have to stop being this person on this page because motherfuckers can't take it. They come in and start swinging and they get beat the fuck up. And then they get beat the fuck up and now I got to get reported. Like, the fuck is that? You feel me? But again, I'm able to go back and forth. This ties to this episode somehow. But I go back and forth because I'm not afraid of the death. I'm not afraid of completion. Like, this conversation that we having, whether it's trolling or whatever the case may be, you have just infused life into the shit. And I'm going to see this life to completion. I'm not blocking you. I'm not ending this shit. And that's what I've learned about a lot of people. Because of the fact that you're afraid of death, you can't see things to completion. I'm not saying be petty on social media, see things to completion. No. But I'm showing how so systematic things have been programmed within us to just avoid it. Avoid the end of the situation by creating avoid the end of the situation by creating an unnecessary end. This is why so many people have conflict resolution skills, because they don't know how to communicate. But they don't know how to communicate because they are anticipating that if I say the wrong thing, death comes. This conversation, like people are afraid of the end. You feel what I'm saying? Motherfuckers right now this ties back to the point that I was making about the men. Men are in relationships right now. If men did not have to succumb to having to give half and all of that shit, like, we would walk out of relationships a lot faster. We would. Right? But everybody's afraid of the death. And I think personally, because I know that this is what I do. And like I said, since I have a healthier relationship with death, death stays farther away from me. But at the same time, when death comes, I know how to embrace it, not just from the morbid side and the dark side of Grim Reapers. You feel me? Even that, think about this. The number one mascot for death is the Reaper. What do you do when you reap? What do you reap? You reap harvests. So when your death comes, when the completion of your life comes, you have no harvest when the Reaper, wow, imagine if you have no harvest when the Reaper comes. That's crazy, right? But that's what fucks with a lot of people. I'm not going to have a harvest when the Reaper comes. Why? Because we never taught to be ourselves. We're chasing the dream of somebody else. Be accomplished with this, that, and the third. When I die, my old mentality used to be this. When I die, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to have this, that, and the third. I'm going to help this, that, and the third. It's like, I wanted all of that. But none of that was ever me. The motherfuckers that I went to med school with, I don't talk to them no more. The motherfuckers that I went to undergrad with, I don't talk. Well, my right hand people that I was with all the time, but I'm talking about colleagues, nigga. Like, those, I don't fuck with them no more. We're into, like, and we can only fuck with the vein that we in at this point now. You feel what I'm saying? But one of the biggest things is in seeing how the education system played out, finishing and all that shit. Like, even that played its role in my understanding of death. Like, walking, it still blows people. And I'm like, yo, I wouldn't have, what they say, I wouldn't have left. I would have stuck it out. I would have finished it. Okay. You would have died. You would have died trying. I'm not dying. Like, I'm not going to die in the midst of something. Like, that's crazy. Because when we die, we don't bury ourselves. We don't close the casket. We don't end the situation. I keep getting jumped out because I'm trying to extend the part that I want to extend, but fuck it, I just go ahead and go to it. So, tying it back in to all of this shit with the retrograde and bringing it back and talking to the sister that, we ain't talked in years, but then just exchanging the numbers again and speaking again, we're just like, yo, it's dead. And I realized that the way in which we were speaking, and it was like, I can tell where she was going. And again, there's no disrespect to her in any way, shape, or form, but she's from how I feel and how I gathered it, she's still the same person she was when we stopped. Right? That means when we died, when our relationship, when our circumstance, whatever it was, situationship, however it is what we're calling it, when it died, when it was complete, when that living was complete, what happened? Because now we fast forward years and you're still that person. And I've grown and become the person I told you I was gonna be. This is not a disrespect and saying, oh, she, back then they didn't want me, now they how they all on me. No, she's still a dope person, still a phenomenal person. She out here doing her own motherfucking thing. And it's like, all right, I fucks with you, yo, do your motherfucking thing. So again, I've never been in a position where if I fucked with a shorty or I fucked with a woman and shit, it's like, when we split or some shit or we stop fucking around with each other, it's like, oh, now you ain't shit. You in it. No, no, no. You still are shit. That's why I fucked with you in the first place. Like, you feel what I'm saying? It's just what could have been between us. That connection is dead. It's complete. We cannot live in that space anymore. It's complete between the two of us. And I'm saying that because, and this is not for her, it's just for in general, because when the relationships got to keep coming back, exes got to keep spinning the block. It's because although we ended those relationships, they're still alive. They're not living, but they're still alive. That's why when retrogrades happen, people are like, yo, my ex came back, because it's still alive. It's still alive, but you ended the relationship. This is why I'm saying there's a major difference between being done and being completed. And being able to have a healthy relationship with death helps you understand that. And I know I had to understand physical death to realize the minute, like when you understand the ending death, the boss death, every other death in the middle is easy to deal with. You see what I'm saying? Death is simply as knowing, hey, I'm not supposed to be in this party. You ever been like, I had a homie one time. He was mad as fuck at me, yo. I'm glad we drove 2 cars. I'm glad we met up there, because he would have been pissed off. But we go to the club and shit. And you know what I'm saying? Because first, like, we having conversations and shit. And he like, bro, why you go to the club by yourself? Because, nigga, if I go to the club by myself, I can control my environment. You feel me? When I realize, oh, this shit boring, I don't have to worry about a motherfucker convince me, yo, let's just stay a little bit longer because it could get lit. You never know, man. The bitches is in here, blah, blah, blah. I don't have to worry about that shit. You feel what I'm saying? And furthermore, when I'm ready to go, I can go. Right? Because when this living experience is dead to me, I can pull myself away from the shit. You see what I'm saying? But he was wondering, like, so in the, like, we meet up, we walking around. I said, this ain't it, bro. I said, this shit dead. Nah, bro, let's give it a little bit more. I left. I gave it like 15 and I left. And he like, yo, bro, where the fuck you go? I said, I told you shit was dead. I'm out, bro. I'm about to go back to the crib. This shit was dead. I ain't want to come out anyway. How you just gonna leave me like that? And then one day we were sitting down, he was like, yo, bro, I can't see how you could just do that. How you just go by yourself? I said, cuz, bro, even if we go together or we ride together or some shit like that, when we get in the motherfucker, we split up, bro, and we don't link back up to the end of the night, right? Yeah, so why the fuck do we gotta go together? He was like, I said, I know most people don't think about that shit like that, because it's like, damn, while we in the club and shit, if you actually that nigga, or one of them niggas, like, you feel me? When you in the club, unless you got the VIP blocked off, when you actually on the floor moving and shit, you by yourself. Your man's is on one side of the shit, you on the other side of the shit. Y'all ain't really together. Now, those other people that are, they got a mean mug and stand like, why go to the fucking club, bro? You just gonna stand there and mean mug and look, nigga, you fucking up the vibe, bro. You making the women uncomfortable, and that's who I'm trying to get on. Chill the fuck out. But why go to the club for that? Cause you ain't got no like now you have a very unhealthy relationship. Like, on Friday at the next, where Damon was like, yeah, I got my shank in here, Justin. Why would you go to a party expecting bad shit to happen? That's why Craig was like, yo, we ain't even on that time. That's my people. That's my cousin. That's my, like, everybody in my family here, bro. You ain't on no type time like that. Because when you are in a state of environment where you have to process death like that, now it has to translate to everything in your life, right? Some people don't have and will never have a healthy relationship with death. And it's scary, because how do you live? And I can only speak on my perspective. It wasn't until I got heavy into the religion that I actually started fearing death. Let me tell you my timeline of how my relationships with death went. All right. So, of course, I got hit by a car when I was 17 months old. I almost drowned when I was like 12. Yeah, I got stuck in the sinkhole in the pool. I almost drowned again, too, when I was like 7, and I was learning how to swim. That was different, though. Like, somebody could save me in that one. Somebody could have saved me in like, if I would have drowned at the beach, though, it would have just been worse, because I probably would have got drifted off. Nobody would have found my body. Like, that's where I was stuck at, right? So I had those, like, after those 2 moments, it was just like, I didn't care. Like, I ain't gonna say I didn't care. Well, I did care. That's why I'm giving y'all the timeline of how this went. So by 17 months old, I was already open. So the facing of death there, it already opened me up before I even had a memory bank. So I've all my life, I've never been afraid of it. I've always embraced it. Hey, it's coming. Like, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Like, people, and I would always wonder why, when I was younger, people would say you're ahead of your time. I've learned nobody's ahead of their time. Nobody is ahead of their time. Some people embrace the understanding of death a lot faster and allows them to see life better. I was never ahead of my time. I was never some advanced person. I'm coming to terms with that now that I'm older, because when it's projected upon you, you just, yeah, I am ahead of my time. No, I'm not ahead of my time. I just embraced the understanding of death a lot earlier, which allows me to live better. You see what I'm saying? So I've been living since I was 17 months old without the fear, about the restrictions of, oh, I'm scared of this. It's like, no, I've already faced death and beat it. Death is, and once you face death and beat it, it's like, that's it. That's the only thing I have to worry about. And then I went to, and the good thing about it, when I was 17 months old, I had no preconceived notions. I had no religion to follow on. I had nothing like that to follow on or indoctrinate me to where it now programs how I perceive life. And I'm going to tell you why that's important, because these points were important for me to go through at 17 months old and 12 years old before I got heavy into religion. Yeah, I was raised in the church, baptized, saved, filled with the Holy Ghost and all that shit. But when I actually took it serious, it wasn't until I was 17. That's when 17 to 18, that's when I started getting into it. But I got into it out of fear. Because I had a different fear of death at that point. I had the fear because at that point I was facing 25 to life in jail. That was a whole different fear. So I got into the religion on some praying, begging type shit. Like, nah, not realizing that, the one thing that death showed me, everything that my brushes with death that showed me that I walked into my death. I was potentially walking into my death without knowing it. You see what I'm saying? When I was 17 months old, I was playing with a ball in a laundromat, and I walked outside in front of the car. And I get, well, you're a kid, it doesn't matter. See, that's what we don't realize. We look at our inexperience in this world on a physical, but we don't pay attention to our soul, our cosmic souls. Like, the fuck? Like, our cosmic souls are far advanced than our physical body. Our physical body has to catch up. That's the purpose of living. You feel me? To remember why the fuck your soul came in this bitch in the first place. So walking into that was a decision of my legs. That was a decision of me to go chase this ball. I didn't have to do that now. But you couldn't have possibly known at you're right, but I didn't have to chase the ball either. Or I could have been more aware of my surroundings. There's things that I was supposed to learn in that situation. You feel me? When I almost got drowned I walked into the water. Now, granted, you could have known that a sinkhole was there. True, you're right. I couldn't have known any of that shit, but it all starts with the very action. And that's the issue. And that's where accountability and responsibility comes in. It may not be your fault that shit happens to you because you don't know. But when you develop a healthier relationship with, it's still my responsibility to fix this shit. Me being raised without a father is no excuse for being a bad father when I have kids. That means I need to figure out what the fuck I need to be doing to become a better father. There's things that I got to do. Low key, that's why I became an entrepreneur. And low key, that's why I studied all the shit that I studied. I know for a fact I'm going to be a good father now because I became a good entrepreneur. Because all of my brands are different. I can't treat them all the same. Just like children. That's how now I know. But when I was 17, after those two brushes with death, it was just like, it was what it was. But when it developed into an unhealthy, those two situations, because I had no substance, whatever, it developed I don't give a fuck attitude. Because it was, death keep coming for me and it ain't touching me, bitch. I'm untouchable. I'm invincible. Fuck y'all. Death can't kill me, nigga. The fuck? Fuck you mean? It can't touch me. The fuck? The fuck? The fuck? Fuck death, nigga. Oh, bitch ass nigga. I got arrogant with it. I'm telling you, real arrogant with it too, where the brushes with death got different. When I was like 16, when me and my homies got stuck at my homie house and shit, because, niggas was trying to kill us and shit, circling. I'm like, nigga, we not getting home tonight. Like, you feel me? That's a different brush with death. That's like, but you got to understand, well, life is complete. Now, how do we finish it? How do we go out with blades of glory? Again, even in the moment to my last whimper, I didn't, nothing happened. But even to my last moment, my whole thing was make sure my young bulls get home. Because now, mind you, this is the age bracket. 16, no. Is it 16, 15? No. 17, 16, and 15. That's the age bracket. I'm 17. One of my other homies 16. The other one's 15. And I'm telling them niggas, look, I done lived my life, man. Y'all run. Nigga, what? what? But again, this is tying into the timeline of my conceptualization of death. I've already processed it 7 times. All right, this might be the real time, nigga. You really want to come get me? I ain't even mad at you this time. You feel me? But again, led to my actions. Now I got it. I told that story before, and I also told that, yeah, my right hand man and shit. He walked up to the bull and like, yeah, when you see your man, tell him this what it is. But that was my homie. Now I get it, but that wasn't your fault. But it was my responsibility because that was my homie. I let my homie get me into some shit. That's not my homie fault. That's not my homie fault that I let him get me into some shit. I could have stopped him from talking. I could have said, yo, hey, yo, leave that shit alone, bro. Did that shit when you, like, you feel me? But it was like, nah, I grew up. This is how I knew. This is how I know in the hood, a lot of time we have a fucked up conceptualization of death and we have an unhealthy relationship with the shit, right? Motherfuckers will say, right or wrong, ride with your mans. You'll discuss later what the fuck you did wrong. I used to be on the ideology. No, because what if there's no later to discuss shit? Because what this motherfucker's doing right now has got us jammed up. But now, because we have unhealthy relationships with death, we embrace it. You feel me? When we had these don't give a fuck attitudes, niggas ain't, until you heard them tires squeal and screech and shit, until you seen a motherfucker pull it, till you heard that shit, till you heard fa, until you heard that shit, you don't want to embrace that. You don't want to embrace that. You don't want to go through that shit. But again, all of these times I had unhealthy relationships. Well, actually, I didn't really have a relationship with death. It was just like, I was just morbidly coasting through life. Then once I got into religion, then I developed the unhealthy relationship. That shit made me arrogant than a motherfucker. But I developed the unhealthy relationship with death. You feel what I'm saying? So much so that I became performative because I say, okay, let me just start doing, okay, let me get 10. Like I ain't start really paying tithes and shit. I don't pay tithes now, but there was a time when I was paying tithes and shit because of guilt. Like I was giving more. I was like, yeah, cause I'm gonna sow my seeds or whatever the case may be. Cause I'm thinking I'm buying my seed into heaven. No, nigga, that's cause you fear death. That's because you fear death. You fear what happens when you die. Everybody does. Well, when I die, will I go to heaven? It's like nigga, 50 said something powerful. He said, God gotta let me in heaven. All the hell I've been through. I was like, yo, when I think about it, I wrote so frail, I'm never going to hell. Like when you realize that you fulfilled your purpose and you did certain shit, regardless of how you live, regardless of what you fuck with, regardless of what you believe. If somebody, I'm like, yo, if I'm wrong and this religion is real, God's real, Allah, holy, and they're not just conceptualizations of the mind, cool. I bet you I still get in. I got to, because I lived. When death came, I lived. When it's all said and done, this is when I started studying my art because like, and then when I started studying about in studying my art and my Adian theurgy and shit and from Kemet, it was always about balance. And then when I studied 42 tenets, it's like, yo, I have not done anything that I wasn't supposed. Basically, the number one tenet, the number one system thing that I get out of mod is I have not done anything that I wasn't supposed to do. Or I have not done anything that wasn't on purpose. That became powerful when I understand what it meant to be on purpose with something. So now when you die on purpose, see, when we look at somebody doing something on purpose, we say it so much that it's cliche. We don't like somebody is doing something along the lines of their purpose. That's what it means to be on purpose with something. How can you do something on purpose or be on your purpose if you don't know what your purpose is? Because you don't have your purpose is found on the other side of your pain, and your pain comes from your pain comes from the experiences that you have with your inability to understand death. Everything that we got to heal from reveals our purpose to us. Why? Because those are the things we weren't supposed to be doing because we had a fucked up relationship with death and we went the wrong way. It's really that simple. We could decorate it all we want to, put everything we want to, but really that's what it was. Our decision making was fucked up. And our unhealthy relationship with death led to fucked up decision making skills. You feel me? You know how many, like, when that YOLO thing came out, niggas just got YOLO, niggas got reckless because nobody had a relationship with death. You got to realize what you're telling people these days. Nobody has a healthy relationship with death these days, especially not in the masses or anything like that. Have you ever seen everybody wants to talk about distraction and pleasure, but nobody talks about the preparation of death. How do you prepare for death? Because when we think prepare for death, funerary service, just have the money to bury the motherfucker. It's deeper than that, nigga. How do you prepare to know? How do you prepare for the completion of living? You feel me? You have to always prepare. And because we don't never look at the end of things. Like, for example, myself as an entrepreneur, it's like you get to a point where it's like, yo, it wasn't until I became an entrepreneur that I set things up to complete the goal for a reason. Like when I was in school, when I was going through the academic route, it's like, yo, every time you said, oh, my goal is to graduate. Okay, now what's your next goal? Graduate again, get this job, get this job, get this job. Right? You prepared for the next thing, but you never prepared for the completion. Like, what do you do when you actually graduate? Oh, start finding another. No. How do you deal with the life that you've just completed? How do you deal with this living experience that you just completed? No, some of us, oh, let me try to relive it. That's why you got motherfuckers 40, 50 years old still talking about what they did when they was in high school. Yeah, man, when I was in high school, I ran a 40. Like, dude, you ain't ran a 40 nothing since then. Who cares about your glory days? Because unhealthy relationship with death. I can't grow. The motherfuckers is like 40, 50 years old and shit. They can't grow. The 40, 50 years old still trying to go to the club chasing little girls and shit young. They don't grow. Your immaturity is largely tied to your like most mental health. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, bro. Really sit and get to the core of the dominant things of mental health. Because what is the number one outcome? Not the number one, but what is one of the most highly sought after outcomes of fucked up mental health? Suicide. Why do you want to die? I don't think people realize, because we're not paying attention to the relationship that we have with death, which means that if we're not paying attention to the relationship we have with death, we're not understanding the relationship of life. I didn't even know this person was suicidal. I didn't even know this person. What you mean? This person has never had a healthy relationship with death. Like, nobody just kills themselves. They performed a certain way for so long, but they never had a healthy relationship with death. They probably never had any relationship with death. That's why it was so easy for them to take their own life. Oh, well, I'm complete. Pow, it's over. And this is not to make it morbid or anything like that. If you've had anybody who committed suicide or anything like that, my condolences. If you've attempted it, I've been suicidal myself. It just so happens that Tupac made the line where he's like, I cried times. I once contemplated suicide and I would have tried, but when I held that 9, all I could see was my mama's eyes. That's the only thing that didn't. And I realized why I was suicidal, because I didn't have a healthy relationship with death. I didn't have a healthy relationship with death, which means I didn't have a healthy relationship with the life that I was actively living. I didn't like, these are one of the things that helped me get out of depression, helped me get out of my suicidal thoughts, because I realized that the things that made me suicidal, I did to myself. Not on no victim mentality shit, but I actually lived the life that made all of these circumstances available. I was suicidal because I was facing life in prison. Why was I facing life in prison? Because I ended up having sex with a woman or a girl who was too young. Why did I end up having sex with? Because the culture was set up like that. Why was the culture set up like that? Because we came from slavery when we was on breeding farms and shit like that. Again, I'm not making any excuses for what I did. This is cause and effect. I had to start looking at the effects of what was happening. You feel what I'm saying? But all in all, I still had an unhealthy relationship with death. And because it was like, yo, bro, you did, like, this is when my life changed, to really pay attention to my actions a lot more, because I was like, yo, you did this. And on one side, it's like, yo, did I really do what they're telling me that I did? No. You made a decision to do something. This is the aftermath that it led to. Your intention wasn't to do any wrong, but this is what happened. This is the difference between fault and responsibility. This is why fault seems so bad and responsibility seems so good, because it's reasons like this. You see what I'm saying? But I developed that suicidal tendency, those suicidal thoughts. Once they told me that, I was like, and this was crazy because they couldn't find me wrong on anything, but they still charged me. So I got like but when they charged me with like contributing to delinquency, that's what it ultimately ended as, right? Contributing to delinquency. And when it came to contributing to delinquency, it was like I still had to do community service. And I was like, but we just established that I did nothing. So I already knew how the system was working. But y'all heard the episode. So from there, that's when it got worse. because this situation was complete. And this is when I realized that the religious people have such an unhealthy relationship with everything. With they have such an unhealthy relationship with death that they perform. Like once a situation happens, they just move on. Like, I ain't get therapy for that shit. I didn't get counseling for that shit. I just kept being talked about. I just kept being told, yo, God got you covered. God got this, God got that. It's like, y'all know this shit. Y'all know what it did to me. Y'all know what it did to me. I don't think y'all do. I don't think y'all do. It fucked with me on a whole different level because now psychologically I'm trying to process like, yo, did I really do something bad or not? Nobody's helping me. But everybody's saying, yo, you got to read that word. You got to get deeper into that word. God is going to give you clarity. I'm going to keep it 100 with you because a lot of y'all are afraid to say this and admit this because of your relationships with death and your deities or whatever the case may be. God ain't do shit. Allah, Jehovah, Krishna, Buddha, everything that happened was because I sat down and I developed my relationship and my understanding with death. And in developing my understanding with death, I started to see certain shit a lot better. And I took time to realize I did this. In a sense, I had to come to terms with the reality that I almost killed myself. A lot of times, our inability to process death the right way and understand that completion of living, I had to look at it like that. I almost stopped myself from being able to live the life I wanted to. That changed everything for me. But it changed everything in a sense that it made me scary, made me very, very fearful. Because I thought that my decision-making skills were me. I thought that the options that I picked available to me were who I was. I thought that the things that I did were me as a person. And so that affected how I had to look at my relationship with self, with death. So as I'm developing this shit, my relationship gets unhealthier and healthier, but it gets unhealthier the deeper I go into the religion. Again, I'm not shitting on your religions or saying this is what it is, but parallelisms, right? But as I got deeper into it, the more I got disconnected from death, but I got more distracted from death, which means I also got more distracted from living and didn't know it. My focus was make it to Sunday so I can go to church or watch whatever, blah, 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 read and this, that, and the third. But, then I started to study and I was like, yo, I thought it was for morality, but it was just for the arrogance to stand over motherfuckers. But to the core of it, it was because I was afraid of death. I never understood that phrase when they said, if you scared, go to church. That's what that is. That's what that was always for. If you scared, go to church, because that is the only place that can give you some kind of solace while you are living, to make you have a comfortable, I'm not going to say an understood or a healthy relationship with death, but a comfortable expression of death. Because now you bind to religion. So when I die, I'm going to heaven. When I die, I'm going to a better place because of what I affiliated with. Not I'm going to this because I lived the good life. I lived the life that I was supposed to live. My life is fulfilled. No, because I'm following this out of fear and a lack of understanding of death. So how do you get somebody like, well, you tell them, okay, your deepest fear is like, that you're going to burn in hell. I get it. We have our deepest fear is that we are inadequate, we are powerful beyond measure, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But all of that, even with those powers, we have to still deal with the fact that we'll die. You have all of this at your disposal. You have all of this at your beck and call, but you still have to come to the terms with the fact that you will die. And all of it will, quote unquote, mean nothing. And this is where the problem comes in, because when we don't have a healthy relationship with death, that means our ego gets involved. So we think things won't have meaning if we're not here to give them meaning. No, when you're gone, the meaning, once you put it out into the world, the meaning is there. Me personally, I can't die. Nobody has to know me. No, I don't have to be famous. I don't have to do I've already impacted the lives I needed to impact. Of course, I'm going to impact more or whatever the case may be. But the fact of the matter is, I'm immortalized. I sit within people's minds in a way that they're going to teach their kids about me. This is not any disrespectful shit or trying to be, stand morally supreme or whatever the case may be. But my understanding of death, my relationship with death has reached me a point to say, hey, I'm going to prepare that I'm not going to die. Now, at this point, I just put shit out for, not for the sake of doing it, but now I put shit out with the impetus of, it's going to immortalize me. I'm going to be here forever. It's the moment that you have a healthier relationship with life, a healthy relationship with death, you understand what you're here to live for. The moment you strengthen your relationship with death and you realize that death is really just the completion of living, you now realize what life, and you now put more energy into developing the life that you have to complete. And don't forget to check out Cafe Clothing, formerly Just Scenes merch. Get all of your intricate designs crafted specifically for the melanated being to develop a positive imagery within self and to have a little bit of fun in the process. From the peace, love, knowledge, and freedom to the dead horses and water designs, all of the styles are crafted for the imagery to make you feel as you're supposed to feel. Because as I always say, the best way to fit in is to stand out. And what better way to stand out than with your exclusive styles from Cafe Clothing. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and end it right there. That's death to me. You feel what I'm saying? I've never been able to look at death in a negative way because I've never been attached to it. I either had no relationship to, I went through the cycle. So I had no relationship, I had an unhealthy relationship. Now I have a very healthy relationship with death. And now it's to the point where I don't fear it. I'm not even thinking about it. I don't think about death at all. Like, I don't think that, I can walk out tomorrow and die. I don't think about that. I don't fear that. I don't even care if I die tomorrow. Care if I die today. Like, I'm not like, that's the last of my worries, but that's the first of everybody else's worries. Anybody who has an unhealthy relationship with death, that's the first of your worries. That's why motherfuckers be so excited. Yeah, first thing I say when I wake up, I gotta be grateful that I got up and everything like that. It's like, okay, cool. People ask me, because I had this conversation. They was like, why you don't pray no more? I told motherfuckers, they're like, I said I don't pray no more. Why you don't pray? You got it. I don't have to pray. I talk to myself enough. I meditate now. Cause that's all I'm doing when I'm praying. I'm talking. I talk enough throughout the day. You dig what I'm saying? I literally talk enough throughout the day. So I get my prayers and I just have to meditate and remember and rationalize and process what I said. But because a lot of people don't have that working information of understanding how death works, they can't process how somebody doesn't have, you know what I'm saying? It's like, like, when I walked away from religion and all of the shit that I walked away from religion, I walked away from med school. Like, those things are dead. And I get it. People, I've completed the life. There's no more life for me in those things. I've completed it. So it's dead. I let it die. The problem is, and this is something that I always mention, this ties into it. And I wrote a song about it. It's called What Ifs and Oh Wells. And I always talk about this. I don't live by what ifs anymore. You only live by what ifs when you fear hell. You only live by what ifs when you have an unhealthy relationship with death. And because I see things through completion, I don't have to wonder, like case in point, when my homie, she popped in or whatever, I don't know what our situation was going to be. I don't know if it was she was coming back so we can be friends again, we could talk or whatever the case may be. I just know the next day we didn't link, and we haven't talked since. You feel me? But my intention was never beyond that. But the point of the matter is, like, if there was a possibility for even that's what it was about, it wouldn't happen. It literally wasn't going to happen. It couldn't have happened in no way, shape, or form, because that's dead. I'm not that person. And it's not even that I'm not that person. It's just like that situation, I have no life in it anymore. It's dead. It's complete. And because, like I said, a lot of us don't complete shit, and then we don't have a healthy relationship with death. It's like we keep bridges open. And you know what? It's wild, because this same person, like, right when it was done, when it was time to end, like, we didn't end on a bad note, right? We ended amicably, but it was on some, you know what? Let's put a pin in this and revisit it. I took the pin out a long time ago. Like, you know what I'm saying? It won't know. All right, nigga, all right, we'll hold out until we get no, because it's like this. one of those this might come off fucked up, but it ain't. But it's one of those situations where you hear like motherfucker like, nah, bitch, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. You feel me? I can't say that about her. I can't say that about her because the dynamic is a little bit different because, and I think this is probably why it was easy to see, and I can see that it was complete because she was with me shooting in the gym and she left. She left the gym. Like she was there for So Frail 1. And you know what I'm saying? Like when this shit started, she knew what was up. Like she was there when I was writing and published Hitting It Raw. Like she seen it. So she was with me in the gym and she left. So that's different. It's one thing, you know what I'm saying? Oh, you weren't with me shooting in the gym. But it's like, it's different when it's like, yo, you was with me in the gym and you left. I got to hold on to that. And for a lot of people, because when you have a healthy relationship with death, a lot of people call you, you know, if you have an unhealthy relationship with death, a lot of people are gonna say you bitter, you still holding on to shit. And you can tell if somebody's still holding on to shit because it's like your life is more avoidant. You feel me? You spend time avoiding shit. Like as opposed to actually living, you avoid these things. I'm like, yeah, I'm good here, I'm good here, I'm good here. You go through so much shit that you just keep avoiding shit. But when you have that healthy relationship, it ain't that you avoid it. It's just that's it. It's done. Ain't shit here. You feel me? But that unhealthy relationship that makes you avoid shit, it keeps you from learning why you were experiencing that in the first place. You feel me? When you have a healthy understanding of death, that means every relationship that you enter, you know is going to come to an end. You know it's going to come to an end. But now, as opposed to knowing that it's coming to an end from a point of self-sabotage, you now know that it's coming to an end based off the point of we're going to walk it till it can't go anymore. Let's not wait till the water runs dry. That's when you have an unhealthy relationship with death. You will literally have 2 ounces of water left and say, oh, yo, we still got a little bit more. How I learned, well, another reason on the physical that how I learned how to deal with death is trading. 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 Hey, that motherfucker let you know, hey, there's no more life in this relationship. It is complete. You need to get the fuck out. When I first started, and there's time testament, a lot of my followers, I mean, a lot of my travelers, a lot of the people in the Master in the Market course, people in Iwi say the same shit. I blew an account. How'd you blow an account? I took my stop loss off. Why the fuck you take your stop loss off? Cause I just knew it was gonna go the way I wanted it to go. So your analysis was wrong already, and then you left a stop loss open with no analysis, and it depleted your account. Like how? You feel what I'm saying? Motherfuckers don't have a healthy relationship with death. You feel me? So when you don't have a healthy relationship with death, you have no healthy relationship with the completion of living. When you see this thing is no longer living, you still staying and hoping that you could pump life into the motherfucker. That's what we do. It's arrogance, is whatever the case may be. But I feel personally, it's just because we don't have a healthy relationship with death. Everything else is made easy. Everything else, and if you don't, I know I should have said this at the very beginning. If you don't have to believe me. You don't have to understand what I'm saying. But you observed it. You seen what the fuck COVID did. You was alive for this shit. You was alive for this shit. The only reason why this shit worked is people fear death. This is what I'm saying. So many people that I know went back into, the church. They went back, and I'm like, I'm not mad at you for going back. I'm not mad at you for doing all of that shit. What I'm confused about is, how did you forget what you just learned? And I'm saying that because my relationship with death won't allow me to go backwards to shit that I've already gone through. What relationship do you have with death is where you leave some shit that is died to you, but you now have to go back to some shit that has no viability because you're scared of going forward into some shit that has new life. Again, I'm not knocking it if you got back into the church, you got back into the mosque, or whatever the case may be, but understand, I remember you. I remember the motherfucker who was like, you know what I'm saying, studying a lot of the shit, learn like you can't unlearn that shit. Like, how do you do that? And this is why I talk about the different levels of the mind. When you only believe shit and you never actually learn it to gain the knowledge to put everything that I talk about with y'all is either experience or understanding. This is why I tell people I don't have to memorize shit. I don't tell you what I believe or what I know no more. I'm telling you what I experienced and what I understand. What? You got me fucked up because now my relationship with death is different. When you have a healthy relationship with death, you can get through the wall of cognitive dissonance a lot better. That's what a lot of people are failing to understand. I talked about the wall of cognitive dissonance. It's very important because it's the medium between going from the level of the mind of belief to knowledge. The wall of cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance is when you hold on to something so no matter like that's a death. You hold on to a belief so powerful that nothing can change your mind about it. That means that the experience that you live in, right? You're so enthralled in it that it can't die to you right now, even if it's dying or if it's already dead. We hold on to that. You feel me? And like I say, this is why they give us religion. They didn't give us religion because it makes us morally important. No, it gives us it gives us a conceptualization of death. That's all you need to control people. Make them fear death because they can't understand it. So now I'm gonna give you a religion that says, hey, when you never know when you're gonna die, and then if you do die, you can burn in hell. How in the fuck is your spiritual soul gonna burn in a physical fire, my nigga? You don't think about that when you're facing death. When you have an unhealthy relationship with death, you just know I don't want to die like that. I don't want to die and end up like that. So all of this shit is based off of our understanding of death and our ability to conceptualize it if we can. For black people in America, they want you. They want you to not have a healthy relationship with death. I've seen death so many times that I have such a healthy relationship with death. That's why it's like certain death things, like I know what they're doing with the death that they put in front of me. Y'all remember, I don't know if y'all paid attention to it, but since the LGBTQ alphabet have finally co-opted the word woke, have you noticed that you don't see many police killings anymore? Remember when the woke conscious community started? They was killing us left and right. Do y'all remember that? It was hashtag after hashtag. We had Darren Seals, we had Corey Gaines, we had Sandra Bland. We had hashtag after hashtag after hashtag. Then we had the erection of Black Lives Matter and everything. They co-opted woke because they know that the only way to stop us is to make us fear hell. I mean, fear death. And when we know that death is coming, it sends us back into the church. They know our relationship with death is already fucked up, but they also know that we once never had a relationship with death. We only understood life. So they had to impose that upon us. So when we were starting to develop, now, right at the height of the Aquarian age, we started getting woke, conscious, everything like that. And now the word woke, because that was the quintessential piece. We go woke, conscious, then you get Sadnetta, you get Polite, you get Dr. Umar, you get all of these people that was dropping gems, Dr. Kaba Kamene, Phil Valentine, you get all this shit. Now woke is some homosexual shit now. When you type in woke, you see a whole bunch of white people on Fox talking about Biden and his left shit. You don't see none of they Wakanda forever us. And then the fact that Chadwick Boseman died after completing the it makes it even harder because now when you think about Chadwick, when you think about Black Panther, you're gonna think about Chadwick Boseman, not Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, and not the liberation of the Black people. You dig what I'm saying? Now, when you see woke, you think about Joe Biden and the LGBT community in the year and his presidency and shit. You don't think about any of the motherfuckers we lost. Like, you don't think about the Corey Gaines. You don't think about the Sandra Blinds. You don't think about Sandra Blands. You don't think about the Darren Seals. You don't think about the Ahmaud Arbery's. You don't think about the fucking. You know how long this list is? That's crazy. And the list is going to keep getting longer for the very reason that we have to make Black people keep fearing death. As long as Black people have a fucked up relationship with death, we can control them. Because we can now give them the religion because they're going to find solace. When you go to prison, why do you always come out either a Muslim or a Christian? Because they're going to give you either the Bible or the Quran. Same shit. Because, nigga, you're at this point, we don't want you to kill yourself. So follow a spiritual practice that we tell you to follow. And now it fucks with your relationship with death. Because now you know death is coming. You see what I'm saying? But you don't understand that death is the completion of living. And now it's time to start a new life. Why do you think memories are so like they teach us to recall at such a young age? We go to the education system to remember, to learn to remember. We don't learn to be smart. We learn rote memorization. When they tell you to think about it, they're telling you to recall some shit they told you last week or the week before, or that was in your previous notes. They're not telling you to actually sit and analyze and use your intelligence to break down this information. Because when you do think intelligently and you actually use your mind and you think outside the box and you think about something, now you start taking the course or the class or the teacher to a place that she wasn't supposed to go because now you're fucking up the flow of the direction. You feel what I'm saying? All of this comes from the fear of death, and we don't really realize it because death is so layered. This is why the fear of death is why we don't complete shit. The fear of death is why we don't see things to completion. The fear of death is why we keep relationship loops open. The fear of death is why we don't move forward. Because death is the completion of living. These things that we experience, that give us life at some point, and now to stop doing them, you feel me? When you take a kid from the park before they're ready to go, that's death for them. Why are you throwing a tantrum? Why are you frustrated? Because I can't process why the fuck I gotta leave. I'm not done living in this situation. You are killing me. You're ending this for me. But you're not helping me understand or helping me process the death. But what you're going to do is I'm going to give you something to cry for. I'm going to cry. I'm going to whine. Why do I got to go? Tell me why I got to leave. You go if it's that important for you. Because as a child, I can't conceptualize that shit. And we wonder why terrible twos are so bad, because terrible twos are the first moment when we stop the child from doing anything, because that's when we give them the understanding of death. Oh, you're complete when I tell you you're complete. It's different. Same shit with your rebellious teenage phase. All of these moments are us coming to terms with our relationship with death, and we are having a difficulty developing it. So either you're gonna get that whole I don't give a fuck attitude, or you're gonna get to a point where you just fear everything. Now you hate confrontation, you hate facing anything, because now and the longer you live, the more miserable you get. And then the closer you get to death, and you realize that, damn, you feel me? At least I made it to the end. At the end of the day, I seen this. It was like, I seen this post, and it was, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna start wrapping up. I seen this post, and the person was talking about they granted their mother being different than they were when they was raised. Like, you looking at a person who's trying to get into heaven. A person who doesn't have a healthy relationship with death. Because if you have that healthy relationship with death, that means you're gonna decide to live. Because that healthy relationship with death, you know death is coming. But then not only the death is coming, you realize you create your own death. They tell you you have your day you're born, the day you die, but what's most important is that dash in the middle. Everybody tells you about the dash in the middle, but don't nobody tell you what to do with the dash in the middle. You use the dash in the middle to understand your relationship with death. And when you understand your relationship with death, you understand how you're gonna live. Because first thing you have to ask yourself is like, if I died right now and I completed everything for everybody else, like, would I feel complete for myself? Nope, you don't. Okay, boom. Now you know you need to start changing your life right now. That's the first point. Everybody that I know that is miserable in their old age is because they were people pleasers, and all the people that they were trying to please are dead now. And now they have the time to do what they want to do without the critique, without the criticism, without the judgment, but they don't have the energy to do it. The youth is wasted on the young. Nope, the youth is wasted on motherfuckers who have an unhealthy relationship with death. Let's call it for what it is. The youth is wasted on motherfuckers who have an unhealthy relationship with death. And they don't want to use their youth until it's almost time to die. Procrastination. Same shit you do in middle school. Same shit you do in high school. You wait to the deadline. And not only that, it's you wait until the deadline, but then it's not until you wait till your deadline that you're using your resources of lifelines. Ain't that some shit? Why do we wait until death to use our lifelines? Look at their lifelines. The fuck? You feel me? But this is how we're programmed. It's not your fault. It's literally not your fault. Like, this is the system. It's designed to work this way. The moment I can control, like, you ever want, like, if you study our history, this is why our history is, it is what it is. But if you study our history, it ain't many wars. It ain't a lot of death in our history. Like we had golden ages. Like study our real history. We have not much death. We don't even have a conceptualization of death. But you study the history of the oppressors that we're under. They can't stop fighting. They can't stop dying. They have plagues. They have all kinds. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna wrap it up for real. Your inability to process death is why black people fear rats and don't even know it. Now I get it. New York rats big as fuck. Them bitches look like puppies. I ain't even gonna hold you. Them shit's big as fuck. But our integration and assimilation into their culture for the last 500 years is why we fear rats. Not because we have some real feeling or fear of rats. We fear rats because they fear rats. They fear rats because rats almost killed them. Now you can understand why they're xenophobic. When you have recessive genetics, you fear death. You fear the death of your people. That's a different level of fear. You have when you have recessive genetics, you can't help but have an unhealthy relationship with death. And it's this unhealthy relationship with death that creates racism. It's this unhealthy, because when you have a healthy relationship with death, now you create the mixed kids and all this shit. It's like, we're going to do this. But when you have that unhealthy relationship with death, now you have to exterminate people. I don't think, when I tell people they think like white people and they think like the Caucasian structure, they don't be believing me. I'm like, yo, the first thing you do when a bug lands on you is you want to kill it. First thing you do when you see something that is different from you, you want to attack it. You want to destroy it. You don't even know why. Because the assimilation of what you involved in yourself with. You see what I'm saying? We got to work on having better, healthier relationships with our deaths. Healthier relationships with death as a whole, and it helps you live, bro. So now, not only does it help you live, it helps you end shit when it's time to end shit. That's why y'all can't end shit, because of y'all relationships. Oh, I'll leave the door open because it's still no. This is done. This is done. Ain't no what ifs for me. It's all what else, all else, because you don't that fucks with you. That's why a lot of y'all got depression. That's why a lot of y'all still got it. Like depression and anxiety also stem from that. You see what I'm saying? It extends from that, because now it's like now you still holding on to incomplete projects because you never completed them because of the way in which you process death. Death is going to come one day. No, act like, yes, death is going to come one day. But when you change your mind to realize that you're creating your death, how do you want to die? When Drake said, I will have peace when I'm 70, I felt that shit. When I started looking at myself and I said, you know what? I'm going to live for a long time. I used to, at one point in my life, I used to have the fear of I'm going to die before I'm 30. Now I have a better relationship with I'm like, I'm not doing shit that's going to make me. Now, granted, car crashes and shit like that out of my control. I'm not talking about that. But the shit that I can control, I am not killing myself anytime soon. You feel me? Because now I have a healthier relationship with death, and I understand it is the completion of living. And when I'm done living, then I'll be done. So I'm gonna go there. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And I'm gonna tell you right now, kids have no conceptualization of death. We give our kids an unhealthy relationship with death the moment we tell them no about things that they're passionate about. A lot of times our parents, our elders, our ancestors, whatever, they never downed us. They never instilled spirits of fear in us. They translated their unhealthy relationship with death onto us, and everything else took root and manifested itself. When you see your kid playing, first thing you assume is they're going to get hurt, so get down. When you see certain shit, it's like the first thing you assume is the worst. You cannot have a healthy relationship with death if you assume, if you assume the worst out of everything, you have an unhealthy relationship with death. And if you have an unhealthy relationship with death, it's because your experiences of life constantly produce results in which you can't see positive things, which means you are unable to create the life that you want to live. That's scary when you really think about it. Because now when we look at what we're passing on to our children, it's not fuck the fear. Like, you gotta stop passing on to your children an unhealthy concept of death. and stop giving them an unhealthy relationship with death. Now, I'm not saying go to feel like me personally. I don't feel like children should be in funerals, but it is what it is. You feel me? But in that, I think what we need to do is when people die in our families, we need to sit down with this, stop crying all the time and just start. Because once the shit happens, we cry, we start arranging for the funeral and all this other shit, and that's it. But we don't actually sit with the kids because kids don't know what the fuck is going on. We don't sit with the kids and teach them, hey, this is what death is. This is, you know what I'm saying? Because it's hard to talk about death when you don't understand it. You know, what's going on? Hey, such and such is gone because they've completed their life. Tying it back in full circle and really bringing it home. Our ancestors never really valued the conceptualization of death. It was like, we celebrated your life. We mourn that your life was no longer here. We didn't mourn that you died. We mourn that you can't give us your life anymore. Which is why after you mourned, you got your crying out and everything, you rejoiced for 2 weeks. Or was it no, I think you mourned for 2 weeks and you celebrated for 40 days or some shit like that. Nigga, bruh, before all of this other shit, just think about that. Before all of this other shit, we had a 40-day party when people died. Now we have a repast and mourn for the rest of our fucking lives. We had a 40-day party 2 weeks after we cried. We get all your crying out in 2 weeks, but you gonna turn up for 40 days, nigga. 40 fucking days, right? Because we never had a conceptualization of death. We just knew that you were no longer giving us life anymore. And that's what we're mourning. But now we're going to rejoice that you gave us all the life that you were supposed to give us. We have to get back to teaching our babies and understanding and letting our babies understand that conceptualization. When the elder passes, when somebody passes, they've given us all the life that they were supposed to give us. And they are done. They have completed what they were supposed to complete. They've given us all, as opposed to the Lord is makes mysterious ways and he don't make no mistakes. And it was because that fucks with a child. Oh, God didn't make no mistakes. Oh, he killed him on purpose. Damn, homie. No. You lived a certain life and you created a certain way. Now you can teach them. You create your death. Now, how do you want to live? Because that will determine how you ask yourself, how do you want to die? Because that will determine how you want to live. Because you just got to fill in the gaps. We need to teach our babies that and make sure our babies stay on point. So this is long as fuck. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And I'm going to see y'all all on the next one. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.